Hey there, fellow explorer, and welcome to a special Espirito edition of the Deep Dive.
Espirito.
Yeah, Espirito Deep, you could say.
I like that.
You know, it's Italian for expert, so we're
Ah,
taking our expertise to the next level for you today.
I'm
All right, let's dive into one of the most iconic structures on the planet, the Great Wall of China. We're going deep into its Wikipedia page today.
sounds good.
And trust me, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued.
We're going way beyond just its size, though. We'll get to that.
Oh, though the size is definitely a big part of the allure.
But we'll also be talking about how its purpose in construction changed over literally centuries.
You know, it's funny how we tend to think of the Great Wall as like
Yeah.
this single unbroken line across the landscape, like a giant ribbon or something.
Right, exactly, like one continuous wall.
But it's way more complicated than that, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the term Great Wall itself is kind of misleading, isn't it?
It is. What we call the Great Wall is really a bunch of different walls and fortifications, built and rebuilt over tons of dynasties.
Yep.
Like, think about it for over 2,000 years.
Wow, 2,000 years.
Imagine all those different construction projects, each one with its own goals and techniques and everything.
It's mind-boggling. And speaking of mind-boggling, get this. A 2012 study found that the total length of all these walls combined is a staggering 21,196.18 kilometers.
Whoa.
That's like, I don't know, walking from New York to LA and back
Wow.
twice.
Yeah, it really changes how you see the wall, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just one single thing. It was more like a constantly changing defense system, you know?
Right. It evolved.
Adapting to all those different threats and power struggles over the centuries.
So before we get into all the specific dynasties and all that, can you tell us a little bit about those very first walls?
Sure.
Like what even prompted people to start building them in the first place?
Well, even before China was unified, like we know it today, you
Yeah.
had all these individual states,
Right.
and they were already building walls to protect their own little territories. So
Interesting.
you can see how deeply ingrained this whole defensive strategy was in Chinese history, you know?
So it wasn't just about keeping out invaders, but maybe also about like
Yeah,
marking their territory, showing their power.
definitely.
Almost like a giant keep out sign.
Exactly. And when we get to the first unified Chinese empire, you have the first emperor.
Yeah.
He's famous for connecting a lot of those existing walls, but also, and this is interesting, he actually tore down some of the internal walls.
Oh, that's interesting. Demolishing walls.
Right. It seems counterintuitive for a structure that's all about defense,
Totally.
but it was a powerful move. By getting rid of those internal walls, he was basically saying, look, no more divisions. China is one unified force now. But at the same time, he strengthened the defenses against the Xiongnu people up north.
Oh, so he was choosing his battles.
Yeah, picking and choosing.
Deciding which boundaries really mattered and where to show his strength.
Exactly. Even back then, it was all about strategy, right?
Yeah.
Picking and choosing what to emphasize.
It seems like the wall was always changing, always responding to new threats and shifting borders.
Absolutely. That's really important to understand about the Great Wall.
Okay.
It was never meant to be just a static line on a map. It was dynamic, a living thing almost, constantly adapting to the geopolitical realities.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of adapting, I noticed that the Ming Dynasty pops up a lot when people talk about the Great Wall.
They do, yeah.
Was it just a case of them being better builders than everyone else, or is there more to it?
Well, they definitely left their mark.
Yep.
And their work is a big part of why the wall is so iconic today. You see, the Ming Dynasty had this major defeat
Oh,
at the Battle of Tumu,
okay.
and it really shook them up, made them refocus on strengthening their defenses up north against the Mongols.
So this defeat really changed how they thought about the wall.
Big time. They didn't just build more, they got strategic about where they built it. For example, instead of trying to incorporate that big bend in the Yellow River,
Oh, yeah.
they decided to build along the edge of the Ordos Desert.
That seems like a conscious choice.
It was.
They weren't just going for the easiest or most obvious route.
Exactly. It shows how well they understood the terrain and how the Mongols might try to attack.
Right.
It was a really smart move to strengthen their defense. And the Ming Wall was different in how it was built, too. They used actual bricks and stones
Yeah.
instead of just packed earth like some of the earlier versions.
So this is where we start to get those classic images of the wall.
Yeah.
Like that really sturdy, imposing wall that's lasted for centuries.
Exactly. And they did it on a massive scale. Imagine this. 25,000 watchtowers all along the wall.
25,000.
Each one a lookout point. So this wasn't just a simple barrier, it was a whole network, a complex system for watching and defending.
25,000 watchtowers. I can't even wrap my head around that number. It really shows just how vast and elaborate this whole defensive system was.
It does, and that's just the watchtowers. There's so much more to talk about.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, like what else went into making the wall more than just a wall?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that the Great Wall wasn't just this, like, passive structure, you know? It was a whole military infrastructure, like a network of all these different elements
Right.
designed to support like a massive army that could move up and down its length.
I remember reading about how they had barracks built into the wall,
Yeah,
armories, even stables for horses. So
exactly.
it's been like an entire city running alongside the wall.
That's a great way to put it. It was designed to like house and support all these troops so
Yeah.
they could move quickly and efficiently along the wall.
Smart.
And here's a fun fact for you.
Oh, I love fun facts.
They used sticky rice mortar to hold the bricks together.
Wait, sticky rice?
Yep, sticky rice.
Like the stuff you eat.
Exactly. It's amazing, right?
I never would have guessed that. How did they even figure that out?
Well, they were pretty resourceful, you know. They
Yeah.
found out that if you combine sticky rice soup with slaked lime,
Uh-huh.
it makes a super strong and durable mortar.
Wow, that's incredible. So we're not just talking about a food here. We're talking about like a key ingredient in one of history's greatest engineering feats. And that sticky rice mortar has actually helped to preserve the wall over all these centuries.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Speaking of surprising things about the wall,
Okay.
let's tackle a popular myth.
Okay.
Is it really visible from space?
Ah, the age-old question.
Right. Everyone's heard that one.
It's one of those fun facts that gets passed around, but unfortunately, it's just not true.
So it's a myth.
It is. I mean, think about it. From the moon, the wall would look as thin as a human hair from 2 miles away.
Whoa.
There's no way you could see that.
So all those stories about astronauts claiming they saw it,
Yeah.
were they just like letting their imaginations run wild?
Maybe they got caught up in the moment, you know? Or maybe it was just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is worth noting that while it's definitely not visible from the moon,
Okay.
there is some debate about whether you can see it from low Earth orbit, like under perfect conditions.
So there's still a tiny bit of hope for those of us who want to believe.
Well, some astronauts have said they saw it.
Yeah.
Others haven't. It seems like it depends on a lot of things, like the
Okay.
time of day, the angle of the sun, even the weather.
Right.
And remember that photo the European Space Agency released?
Oh, yeah.
The one they said showed the wall from space. Turned out to be a river.
Oops.
Yeah,
So I guess the jury's still out on that one,
it is.
which is kind of fitting, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a structure with this much history and mystery, it's only right that it still has some secrets.
Definitely.
But let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about the wall today.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that some parts are big tourist destinations now. But what about the sections that aren't so well maintained?
That's an important point. Some parts have been beautifully preserved,
Yeah.
but others face some serious challenges. Conserving something this big,
Right.
something that's been exposed to the elements for centuries,
Uh-huh.
it's a huge task.
I imagine things like erosion must take their toll.
Oh, for sure. And we talked about people taking bricks, too.
Right, right.
Those are definitely factors. And sadly, some parts have been lost to development as well.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, modernization sometimes comes at a cost, you know?
It does. It makes you realize that history isn't just about facts and dates. It's also about how we choose to value and protect those physical pieces of the past.
Couldn't agree more. The Great Wall really reminds us of that. It's
Yeah.
a symbol of human ingenuity,
Uh-huh.
perseverance, but it also shows how we can impact these structures.
Yeah.
For better or worse, it makes us think about how to balance making it accessible to tourists
Right.
with preserving it for the future.
Yeah, that's a tough one. No easy answers there.
Not at all. It really makes you consider what responsibility we have to future generations, right?
Right.
What do we want their experience of the Great Wall to be like? Do we want to give them a perfectly preserved, curated glimpse of the past?
Yeah.
Or do we want it to be more authentic,
Right.
even if that means accepting its flaws?
It's a big question.
It is, and it's one worth thinking about. Because the Great Wall is so much more than just bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of China's spirit, you know?
Uh-huh.
And its story is still being written.
It's amazing how, like, we've talked about so much.
I know, right?
But I still feel like we've only just, scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There's just so much to the Great Wall. It's so much more than just a wall.
It really is. It's like this one structure that holds so many different layers of meaning.
Right.
For a lot of people, it represents China itself.
Mhm.
You know, that long history, that resilience,
Yeah.
that vastness.
But, as we've been talking about, it's not just one single symbol either, right?
No, definitely no.
It's more like
Yeah.
a tapestry of all these individual stories woven together.
Exactly.
Dynasties, battles, the lives of all the people who built it and defended it over the centuries.
It's a good reminder that history is really made up of all these human experiences, you know?
Yeah, like when you think about the actual work that went into it,
Oh, yeah.
the sheer manpower,
Bringing labor.
the ingenuity, the sacrifices,
Absolutely.
it's incredible.
It makes you think about what they were hoping for,
Yeah.
what they were afraid of.
Right, like building something this massive,
Yeah.
it says something about how worried they were about what was out there, beyond the wall.
Absolutely. Every section, every watchtower, it's
Yeah.
like a monument to
Yeah.
those anxieties, to their ambitions too, of course.
We've talked about, like, all the stuff we can learn from the wall,
Mm,
but what about the stuff we still don't know?
yeah.
What are you still curious about?
For me, it's that sense of mystery, all
Yeah.
those untold stories. It's what keeps bringing me back,
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It's like I can imagine all the secrets the wall is holding, all the whispers of the past.
It's like if these walls could talk, right?
Exactly.
That's what's so cool about it, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a direct link
It is.
to this past that's both familiar and totally foreign.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can walk in the footsteps of the people who came before us,
Literally.
but we'll never really know everything about them.
Yeah, their lives and motivations is still a bit of a mystery.
It's a bit of an invitation, isn't
It
it?
is.
To keep digging, keep researching, keep listening to those stories that have been passed down.
Definitely. To everyone listening, I'd say don't just stick to the well-worn paths,
Yeah.
Go explore those hidden corners of the wall's history. There are so many stories waiting to be discovered.
And who knows, maybe you'll make a discovery of your own, right?
Maybe you'll uncover some new piece of information.
Add to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you do, let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about it. Share your thoughts, your questions, anything.
The more we all learn and share,
Yeah,
the better we can understand the Great Wall's legacy, right?
absolutely.
So until next time, keep those minds curious.
And keep diving deep.
And hey, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll even figure out if it really is visible from space.
Maybe. Just maybe.
That's it for this deep dive, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us.